Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 206 and 17th of September for the Russo-Ukraine war, or the Russian special military operation, or Russian invasion of Ukraine. So before I start, I want to just recommend you to check out Tommy's podcast. Basically, he's a very awesome podcaster, doing crazy amount of work, and this is the second time I'm on his show. And this time around we went like some stupid long chat. This is a very casual chat, mostly quite casual, and some parts quite serious. And so if you just want to pass time, I highly recommend you to watch it on Spotify, because that's where he get the best revenue. And I will drop in the link below. This is just recorded around 12 hours, 13 hours ago. So I think you will like it. It's a really fun conversation. That's why it can last for almost 4 hours. So let's get on to the summary. So no weird statements today. So we'll start off with the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported one Ka-52, which is an attack helicopter, getting shot down over Ukraine. They did not mention where, as usual. So no idea how to interpret this information. So it's like a kind of situation. Yeah. So moving on to the Southern Front. In the Southern Front, the most significant information coming out from the Southern Front was that there was fighting reported in Kherson. And if you check out the last video that I've posted on this main channel on Defense Politics Asia, you will see two footages which I combined to one, where you can see the fighting that was in the middle of Kherson. So reportedly, there is clashes, from the railway station and then move further south into the city. Then armored vehicles are drawn into the area, and Russian forces and enforcement agencies besiege all these unknown gunmen. So a later information said that it is a diversionary reconnaissance group of the Ukrainian military firing around the Kherson railway station, and then there has been encircled, and Spetsnaz was conducting operation to destroy them. So there is no casualties among civilians, and they say that this diversionary group is sent by the SBU, the Ukraine Secret Service. So as far as I am concerned, this is more like a commando raid, a commando operation. Seems to be there to do something. But if they just kill off just like this, I'm not sure what exactly they have accomplished. So it remains to be seen what they have done, or what was the real reason for being there. So but this is not exactly unusual. It's a very typical Ukrainian operation where they really use a lot of special forces, commandos, DRGs, which is the deep reconnaissance groups, going deep into enemy lines, trying to do something which often we don't really know what they did. So moving on to the front line, there is fighting reported at Pravdyne. So this is reported by the Ukraine Defense Ministry, and interestingly, they said the enemy attacked in the area of Pravdyne, but we basically marked the area actually to be under Russian control, which yesterday we have reported that the Ukrainians launched an offensive at Pravdyne, and they did not capture the town. So here they still reported the Russian attack. So which is why there is this parallel universe where you can see the blue front line and the pink front line is kind of different. The interpretation between where is the front line between the Ukrainians and the Russian is actually because there is some difference. So so this is just how we do the this intelligence in the marking of the mapping, so that we can have a sensing exactly what is the perspective. So you have the Ukrainian perspective, is a Russian perspective. So in case you are new here, that's just how this works. So yeah. So in the rest of the Southern Front, there is no new updates. Very quiet, so kind of weird in a sense. So not sure if it's something to do with the flooding or the higher flow rate of the river, or widening of the river due to the destruction of dam further up at Kryvyi. So the operation seems to be died down by a lot. Moving on to Zaporizhia line, also nothing happening here. Very quiet here. And moving on to the Donetsk front, fighting continue to be reported at Novomykhailivka. And this time around, we have fighting reported at Marinka. Both of this information coming out from the Ukraine Defense Ministry. I didn't see anything about the Pisky region over the past 24 hours. Either at Odradivka, and that's all from the Donetsk front. No, really nothing much. Moving on to the Bakhmut front. So this is the Bakhmut front where the Russians concentrate their main offensive effort, and fighting is reported in a new location, this time around at Kurdyumivka. This is according to the pro-Ukrainian source DeepStateUA, where they say that fighting is now at Kurdyumivka. So this is actually a new location which actually verifies that the information of Mykolaivka Druha is actually fallen to the Russians. However, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry continues to report bombardment at Mykolaivka Druha, and they doesn't seem to acknowledge the capture of this location, and they reported fighting, in fact, at Mykolaivka Druha. So kind of a weird situation where the pro-Ukrainian source actually does not match the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. There is fighting reported at Odradivka, according to the Ukraine Defense Ministry, and as well as Vesela, Dolyna. At Vesela, Dolyna, there is this substation. So this substation is now captured by the Russian side, according to the pro-Russian source Ryba, where the Wagner PMC detachment have captured this substation after a long fight. They have been fighting around this region for a very, very long time, and now they say that with the capture of this substation, they are now open to capture this village, which is like a really, really small village. It looks really weird, right? It looks more like like a school than a village. Like the main building of the school, then you have the rear building, maybe the administration building is over here, the technical block, and then some other sheds and for your extracurricular activities. Yeah, it just looks like a school to me. So anyway, moving on, there is also fighting at Bakhmut. They say that the against the Wagner PMC, which is, it seems like the main force that's fighting around this region, has moved along the Patricia Lumumbi street, and they have gained a foothold in the outskirts of Dacha Cooperative. I don't know where is Dacha Cooperative. At least I can't find it on the Google map unless I have to go and search other maps. Tentatively, it's not very important because we are not covering the war on the tactical level. So they did mention that the Ukrainians are trying to counter-attack the entire contact line from the on the south and the east of Bakhmut. So I have no idea where is south and east of Bakhmut supposed to mean. So I'm kind of ignoring the information for now until we have a better information. So moving on further north, fighting is reported at Soledar. But according to Ryba, they say it's positional fighting, which means that this is not an active assault or offensive. They are basically staying in position and shooting each other, trying to move to better firing points, the sort of things. It's not a kind of offensive where you actually capture territory. So it's basically a standoff-ish kind of a situation. So that's all from the Bakhmut front. The reports from Bakhmut front and from this gorilla head, this gorilla, the eyebrow and mouth, seems to be just copy and paste on a daily basis seemingly. At the Siversk front, fighting flare up bigger again, where there is this interesting information from AZ military that there is a attack at Berestove by the Ukrainians against the Donetsk People's Republic forces, and then did not seem to be successful. Continued fighting reported at Spirne, according to the pro-Ukrainian source DeepStateUA, and there is fighting reported at Bilohorivka as well, also from DeepStateUA. So the Siversk front seems to be in the stalemate at this moment. The entire the Ukrainian momentum is entirely broken. Meanwhile, on the Slovyansk front, at the Slovyansk front, the Liman offensive seems to have kind of a abundant, because there is a breakthrough further up north where the Ukrainian lines have reached Krimki and Odradivka. However, in the latest updates, we did not see information coming out about this fighting over here. We only know from War Mapper on Twitter that the Ukrainian forces have taken over Studenok after the Russian forces have withdrawn from it, and the only fighting reported around this region is actually on the Oskil Front. On the Ukrainian forces have went through Oskil town, and then they actually move eastward, and fighting is reported at Rubtsi. So with this information, that also suggests that the Ukrainian forces have captured Yatskivka. According to this information coming out from a pro-Russian source, Riber, they say that heavy fighting continues at the Oskil Front. Basically, they call it the same thing as what I call interesting. And they say especially in the area of Rubtsi. So they say the DRGs, the Deep Reconnaissance Group, try to operate along the Oskil, and their objective, according to Riber, is to reach the town of Berestove over here, which is an important another hub town or city. So the Russian troops are holding back the enemy attacks, and the Ukrainians are actively trying to maneuver artillery and strike at the defensive formations. The enemy, so they say that the enemy put together a huge force and are trying to break through the line of defense. And they say what I actually had said a week ago, that what the Ukrainians are trying to do is to break the defense line and actually repeat the success they had in the Bilohorivka front, where they broke through where's Bilohorivka. After you take away the front line, right, it gets a bit confusing. So where's Bilohorivka? So I don't know where is it now. Forget it. Bilohorivka is here. So after in the Bilohorivka offensive, the Ukrainians attack Bilohorivka, and then they go up, they break through the defense line, and then they just flow through the entire undefended territory. And the Ukrainians are trying to do the same thing over here at the Oskil Front, where they're trying to break through over here or anywhere along the Oskil River. And if they can break through the defense line of the Russians, there's unlikely to be a second or third line of defense, and then the Ukrainians will be able to run riot across the entire the rest of the Kharkiv Oblast and then into northern Luhansk, and this will mean a super disaster for the Russian side. So this is the situation at this moment. And moving further up north on the Oskil Front, pro-Ukrainian sources are claiming that the Ukrainians have captured Eastern Kupyansk. The interesting thing is that this is entirely not mentioned on the pro-Russian side. The pro-Russian channels, no one is acknowledging that Eastern Kupyansk has fallen to the Ukrainians. So this information is only on the pro-Ukrainian side. So DeepStateUA, the pro-Ukrainian source, reported that this is the situation now, that they have captured Eastern Kupyansk. However, and then also on Twitter, the pro-Ukrainian sources and some of the neutrals mappers are reporting this. However, on the DPA side, because there is a lack of acknowledgement from the pro-Russian side, I cannot put this as a clear capture. And interestingly is that on Twitter, the pro-Ukrainian accounts are claiming that the pro-Russian channels are saying East Kupyansk has fallen. But as far as I can tell, what the situation was, there was a recon group or commandos or special forces entered East Kupyansk. They took some photos, and then so that was when the first claims of East Kupyansk has fallen, because they saw the photos, they thought that there's evidence to show that there is a capture. And then it was it was debunked by pro-Russian source Ryber, saying that those forces has been killed or has failed that operation. And then there's information saying that those people, after taking the photo, they were actually killed off, annihilated. And the East Kupyansk remains under Russian control. The situation is currently in the fog of war. We have no idea what is exactly happening over here in East Kupyansk. So this is actually in a gray zone where we have these overlapping claims. And I would also say that if East Kupyansk capture is true, I think the fanfare from the pro-Ukrainian side will be much more louder, much more pronounced, because just like in the breakthrough in the Kharkiv region in the Balalia offensive, usually such a breakthrough will follow up with a massive flow of Ukrainian forces into new settlements, where they capture other settlements very, very quickly, or at least they actually reach and try to penetrate deep into the Russian lines, disrupting supply chains and reinforcement and whatnot, causing a massive intelligence breakdown within the Russian military planning. So, however, this is not the case. We haven't seen that to be the case. So I don't think that is true. Because now the Ukrainian modus operandi is very clear. Once they have the breakthrough, they will start to send recon forces to penetrate as far as they can, and that will cause massive confusion within the military leadership that is commanding the Russian forces over here. That's not the case, so that's not likely to be the case. So anyway, this is the summary for the day of 206 for the 17th of September. And so remember, do check out this Tommy's podcast. We kind of come out with some stupid title, and he said that I'm an agent of the Kremlin. So yeah, which is a troll on the people who kept saying that I'm pro-Russia. So anyway, do check it out. It's a fun podcast, and I'll see you in the next update.